Hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. In this video, I'm going to talk about Zilliqa. I'm going to be looking at the price and risk charts and trying to get a sense of where ZIL is right now and give you an idea, if you're interested in ZIL, about what you can expect from ZIL in the near future. So before I dive into this chart that you're looking at right here, a little bit of background about where I'm coming from. So ZIL is one of the smaller projects that we cover here on the channel. Its market cap is a little bit under 800 million currently. It's a layer one smart contract platform, if you're not familiar, that puts it into a category with, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, and others like that. So it's not part of that upper echelon of smart contract platforms right now, but it's what I would consider to be a dark horse. It has good tech. ZIL has competent leadership. It has a dedicated community, and it has a plan to be at the forefront of the creator economy, which has not even started to scratch the surface of its potential. So, in my opinion, although ZIL is not ready to compete with the top tier right now, there is a chance that we look back in a few years or sooner and see this period of time as an incredible opportunity to accumulate ZIL. So, that's a little bit of context about where I'm coming from and why I'm interested in examining this chart. So if you guys like the content, subscribe and like the video. Also follow us on Twitter at Upside Down Data. We put out regular updates there about our UDPI risk indicator and more. So with all that said, let's look at the chart here. This is the upside downside potential indicator, which is our in-house risk indicator here. And what we're looking at here is the price history of ZIL color-coded by risk. So the UDPI key is over here on the right. When you see red or the reading number 5, that means high risk. And down here at the bottom, green or -5 means low risk, lots of upside potential. At a glance, it's pretty clear that the UDPI has done a pretty good job historically calling out good times to accumulate ZIL and good times to reduce your ZIL position, to maybe sell off the ZIL that you were holding or reduce your exposure at those periods of time. That starts in 2019 where we see the slip into green territory. The price continued downward for a number of months there, and the risk kind of oscillated, moved around in that negative territory, didn't stay green the entire time. But you would have incurred some short-term losses. But then this massive parabolic move came out of the March 2020 COVID crash. And pretty soon, anyone who had started to accumulate ZIL when it flipped green would have had their entire position in profit. Not only that, you would have seen this flip into red territory, which would have, if you were using this indicator, would have triggered you to unload some of your ZIL. So that would have been some realized profits. Then, price consolidated for a while, and eventually risk came down again into this green territory. This was in the third quarter of 2020, and then we had another parabolic move to the upside, which ultimately brought ZIL up to 26 cents during the spring of 2021. Risk at that point was quite overheated, and along with the rest of the market, pulled back in May. Risk came well down again, back into this green territory, and you could say that we've basically been going sideways ever since. Risk got elevated again on this bounce up to about 14 cents. And now we've been consolidating, moving down. And for the first time in a bit, we see green on the chart again. We're now sitting at minus 3.1 risk on this +5 to -5 chart. That means that there's plenty of upside potential that's realistic for ZIL in the near to midterm future. And that a lot of the realistic downside potential maybe has already played out. Another way to think about this and to look at this information is just by pulling up the UDPI chart as an output here. So these high values indicate high risk when we get up to this 5 level, and when we get down to -5, it indicates low risk. And right now we just hit this -3 zone. And if we look back across the history of ZIL, the risk history of ZIL, we can see that this is the 5th time that we've reached this level. We reached this level once here and then bounced off of it, moved back up to 0, and then ultimately got rejected there and came all the way back down there. This was the COVID crash. and then bounced up, came down again, hit -3 again. At this point, this was the third time when the risk had hit -3, and the second out of the 3 that had bounced when it did so. But then more recently came down right through -3 and bottomed around -4. So we have 2 cases out of the 4 in the past where ZIL has bounced when it hit this -3 level, 2 cases when it went a little bit deeper, but not that much deeper. In one case, it went down to -4, and obviously in the other case, it went as deep and became as oversold as it ever has in its past. So this doesn't mean that a reversal has to happen immediately, but it does seem to indicate that we might be nearing the bottom. Or put differently, that there's not that much realistic downside potential left. It would be kind of surprising if we went that much further to the downside. Before I come back to this, why don't we just pull up price chart real quick. So here's ZIL sitting at right at about 6 cents and sitting on top of a long-term support level at 6 cents, or in the 5 to 6 cents range. We first started bouncing off of 6 cents all the way back here, in early 2021. But what's important and it's really different as compared to then is that right now we're much lower risk. When we were sitting here in early 2021, risk was very high. It came down a little bit as the price consolidated, but it never got very low. It stayed pretty high and then couldn't get that much farther off of this support level. I mean, in fairness, that is a decent move, but it came back down is the point. And so, we bounced off of the 6 cent support level once back here in early 2021, again in May, again in June, then again in July, and now again in December. So this has been a very consistent support level, very reactive level where you see these wicks, wick. There's buying pressure that comes in for ZIL at these levels. So that's another reason to be bullish at support. There's a psychological tendency to get bearish at support, get bullish at resistance, because you kind of see the proof. When the price moves to the downside, you might think that it's got further down to go, but this is actually a pretty bullish setup for ZIL. It came way down. Risk has reset a lot and is very low, relatively speaking. And, price is holding this support. It's also got some catalysts coming up. It's building, the ZIL community is building. ZIL-Swap, which is the leading exchange, has some new functionality coming out. This is really exciting to me because, as I talked about in a previous video on ZIL, I think that one of the things that could really propel it, could draw in a lot of new users and could really benefit the price action, would be additional DeFi functionality. Increasing the total value locked in the ZIL DeFi ecosystem would be a real boon for ZIL as a whole, I think. And so here are some moves that are being made in that space, and that's worth taking note of because that could help to catalyze things, especially when the price action is looking ready for recovery, potentially. Another thing that's going on, which is worth mentioning because it might be an opportunity that some of you would be interested in, is an airdrop that's happening right now. XCAD is one of the leading projects on ZIL. It's a creator economy project. It's a creator token thing that's going to be a topic for another video, I think, to do a deeper dive into that and how ZIL and some other, and some other players in the space could benefit from that. But just for now, if you're holding XCAD in a non-custodial wallet like MetaMask or ZIL Pay, then you're eligible for this XCAD airdrop. So the XCAD is going to be taking random snapshots over the next couple of weeks. They've already started to do that. And the average number of XCAD that you have in your account in your non-custodial wallet across those snapshots will determine how many DXCAD you get. DXCAD is going to be the governance token for the XCAD decentralized exchange, which will be rolling out soon. And so here's an opportunity to be aware of and more evidence of the building that's happening on ZIL. Just note that you can't hold it on an exchange. You've got to hold it in a private wallet that you have the keys to. So, to conclude, let's pull up the whole market here just so that we can put ZIL in context. ZIL is at minus 3.1, as I mentioned. It's one of the lower risk assets here up on the board. Not the lowest. We've got HBAR here minus 4.54, VeChain also below minus 4. But ZIL is in this group that has entered what I would consider to be accumulation territory for sure. Even if there's a little bit more downside potential, there's likely not that much more of it to come. So if you find this useful, like and subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you think about ZIL. That'll be all for now. And just remember, with the UDPI, WAGMI.